So we'll discuss today the rise of essay in the Elizabethan age. So essay as a literary form took root in England during the late 16th century. That is exactly this period, which was shaped by intellectual currents. You know, the impact was Renaissance humanism, which was sweeping all over Europe. So the word essay, which comes from the French essai, which means an attempt or trial, right? So a term which was popularized by Michel de Montaigne, okay, and who has written very uh, important or groundbreaking essays which appeared in 1580. So this fellow, this French writer, he was the influence on these Elizabethan, right? So this is how this essay writing became uh, quite popular during this particular age. So you know that humanism stood for all everything which concerned human beings, everything, their outer as well as inner life. So first thing is the individual reflection. That is anything which concerns human beings. So human beings are not just thinkers; they have emotions, they have uh, sentiments, and this Renaissance spirit, it encouraged personal observation and contemplation. Okay, the, the writing was focused on a person, human beings, how they felt, what they thought. It was not only on the thought process, rather, anything and everything which concerned human beings. So it was individual reflection. You can call it personal contemplation, personal observation. Okay. So this particular thing, it engaged directly with human experience. What they what they felt, sorry, how they felt, what they thought. Then second thing is moral philosophy. Okay, you know that the center of all literary or philosophical inquiry was human beings. So there was a renewed interest in human behavior and ethical questions. Where it came from? It came from that Renaissance spirit. Okay, so literature addressed even the ethical issues, moral issues of human existence. Okay, so this contemporary concerns of Elizabethan society. You know that in every society, people face certain issues, certain problems of ethical or moral dilemma. So, how to address them? Okay, so that was the second concern. The third was a kind of reasoned argument. Now, देखो it begins with human beings. वो खुद उनकी क्या समस्याएं हैं, what they think, what are their observations, their personal feelings or life. Second, it comes to their ethical or moral behavior. Third, now अब क्या रह गया, अब दिल की बात होगी, इंसान की बात होगी, अब सबसे ऊपर उसका दिमाग होता है, तो उसको भी तो कुछ चाहिए. So the third thing deals with that. Prose became a vehicle for rational discourse rather than mere ornamental display, balancing clarity with intellectual depth. So अब दिमाग के लिए भी कुछ चाहिए भाई. It also needs some food, right? Some material. So that was available in the form of this rational discourse, rational discussions, which satisfied the logic and reasoning of the mind or brain. So, Elizabethan essay emerged from this confluence of humanist curiosity and practical wisdom, so that demanded an expansion of this literary middle class, which was eager for moral and intellectual guidance. This is what humanism is. This is the essence of humanism, राइट. इंसान के बारे में क्या वो सोचता है, कैसे वो सोचता है, क्या उसके प्रॉब्लम्स है. ओके, so that is what the actual purpose of this humanist writing is, especially these essays. Now if you talk about the foundations, then there is a big name which comes to your mind, that is Francis Bacon. But uh, Before him, there were several pioneering writers who experimented with prose styles, and that was how they prepared a kind of fertile ground for reflective writing. So, first name which comes is Sir Thomas More. Thomas More's Utopia, which was written in 1516. It was written in Latin, then it was translated into English in 1551. Okay, so Utopia, it is a kind of philosophical fiction, which is a kind of dialogue which describes an ideal commonwealth. But uh, this term has become a kind of misnomer. Utopia is something. If you look at its dictionary meaning, then you will find that a thing or place which exists nowhere, right? जो कहीं हो ही नहीं सकता. So this was such kind of philosophical treatise which Thomas More had put forward, that how an ideal republic should be, where everyone has equal rights, where no one suffers, there is no poor left in the society, there is always peace and prosperity and social well-being everywhere. So, this is something which cannot be there in reality. So, that is why this word has got a kind of opposite meaning in today's world. You cannot have an utopian world, because this world is full of a lot of problems. Because human beings, uh, they themselves get into such kind of problems, right? So, utopia, which is More's rational and very clear style, marked by clarity, irony, and social criticism, demonstrated early English humanism and influenced subsequent prose by balancing argument with moral observation. So this was the first one, Thomas More's Utopia. Then come Roger Ascham and educational prose. Now he has written The Schoolmaster, 1570. Okay, which is school education and the moral training of youth. Okay, so this is an early example of a kind of discursive course where you are trying to tell someone that what should be the foundations of a good education, and how the youth should be morally trained. Okay, so this is a combination of the two. One is half it is pedagogical treatise, and half of it is personal reflection. Okay, what this particular Roger he thinks about uh, this particular issue. There is a personal reflection, and he writes in a very simple, clear, and moralizing style. And he was passionately uh, was against moral punishment. Okay, and he advocated instead for learning through gentle encouragement and patient instruction. So you can call it the first treatise on education, that how children should be taught in the schools, right? That instead of punishing them physically, that is corporal punishment, you know, other uh, creative and better methods like gentle encouragement and patient instructions, they should be used instead of this. So, as shame, conversational tone and moral earnestness resemble the emerging essay form, that is personal as well as instructive. Okay, so this is another important uh, essay writer uh, of this particular age, Roger Ascham, a prose writer, right? The schoolmaster. Then comes John Lilly and the art of euphuism. So John Lilly, he has written, these are the major prose work, Euphues, the anatomy of wit, Euphues and is in England, and is England in 1580. He has written it 1578, anatomy of wit. And I have already told you what is euphuism, which is euphuism is a way of describing even the worst thing in the best ornamental manner. Okay. It uses highly decorative prose style, highly decorative writing style. Okay. There are balanced sentences, then alliterations and antithesis. These are terms which you should know. I have put some videos on these terms, literary terms. आपको alliteration पता होना चाहिए, आपको antithesis पता होना चाहिए. Okay, so alliteration and antithesis. Antithesis is placing two very diverse things side by side, two contrary things side by side, like sweet poison. Okay, then next is example you can see here. It is virtue, ye virtue, gentlemen that maketh gentlemen. Okay, so Lily is another person, and here comes another man, the Sir Philip Sidney, who has written the critical essay. Writing he has introduced into English the defense of poesy in 1595, which was published posthumously after his death, and also Arcadia, which is a kind of prose romance. Okay, in 1590, right? So he was the first person to write some serious work of literary criticism in English. As I told you, after him, there will be many critics who will be writing about the English literature, but he was the first one. He has written The Defense of Poesy. And this particular essay, it teaches moral virtue through delight, blending Renaissance classical ideals, and he draws upon Aristotle and Horace, and he makes a very passionate defense of English poetry. Okay, some other critic, Stephen Gosson, I think he had made a very harsh remark against the poetry, English poetry. So he defends in this particular work, The Defense of Poesy, where he defends English poetry, and he defends it uh, on the basis that the purpose of poetry is not only to delight but also to teach. So Sydney, he is uh, another person which you should remember here. And here comes the greatest of them all, Francis Bacon. Okay, he's the master of English essay, right? And you know that while other writers they were experimenting with reflective prose, Francis Bacon gave the essay its permanent shape in English literature, right? So he is the person who is credited with uh, the highest or the most important contribution of establishing essay as a distinct style. And his contribution established the essay as a distinct literary form, which was characterized by intellectual rigor, and some he has a particular kinds of style which you call as aphoristic wisdom, aphoristic style. So first edition which was there, he has produced, which was written in 1597, which are essays or counsels, civil and moral. He has written just 10 essays. Then he writes the expanded edition. The collection becomes 38 essays. Okay, then he comes out with his final edition in 1625, uh, where the number increases to 58 essays. Okay. Uh, so now, what are the characteristics of Bacon's essays which make him such a great person in English literature? Okay, first is his compact wisdom, right? He uses very sharp, short, and densely packed sentences with meaning. Okay, every sentence carries weight. Nothing is superfluous or merely decorative. This is simple and straightforward method of writing. Okay, there is nothing additional, nothing extra, nothing superficial. Okay, so that is compact wisdom. Second thing is analytical detachment. No, you learned about other essayists who were writing in a personal tone or writing in a personal manner, but uh, this fellow, he writes in a very impersonal and analytical and moral manner, examining human nature with very cool observation rather than emotional engagement. That means he detaches himself emotionally from his essay writing. he comments, you know, ये क्या हो रहा है? Okay, उनको सुनाई दे रहा है, इसका बंद हो गया, तुम लोगों को नहीं दिखेगा, ठीक है. सेकंड इज एनालिटिकल डिटैचमेंट, वेयर एनालिटिकल मतलब he doesn't attach himself personally to his essay writing. He makes a very impersonal and analytical analysis, analytical uh, judgment of uh, everything, whatever he writes upon. The next is aphoristic style. What is aphoristic style? This this is a benchmark, or this is a trademark of his essay writing. He is full of memorable aphorism and striking analogies that crystallize complex ideas into quotable maxims. Okay, next you can write is aphorism. What is aphorism? बंद कर दो इसको, बंद हो जाएगा इसको बंद कर दो. इससे से बाहर जाओ, रिटर्निंग टू होम स्क्रीन कर दो, होम स्क्रीन ऊपर ऊपर सबसे ऊपर, हाँ रिटर्न टू होम स्क्रीन करो. अरे यहीं से कर दे. हाँ, नहीं हो रहा है, रिज्वाइन करो, हो गया बस. So now what is aphorism? Aphorism is a short phrase that expresses in a clever way something that is true. सूक्ति बोलते हैं इसको हिंदी में. तो एफोरिज्म का मतलब होता है एक शॉर्ट फ्रेज. ओके, शॉर्ट फ्रेज जो क्या करता है, किसी किसी चीज को बहुत ही शॉर्ट मैनर में, ओके, उसको एक्सप्रेस करता है. सूक्ति या कहावत भी कहा जाता है उसको. कहावतें आपने सुनी होगी हिंदी में. ओके, हर चमकने वाली चीज सोना नहीं होती. ओके, जो सोता है वो खोता है, समथिंग लाइक दैट, right? So he has produced such kind of densely packed phrases which contain a lot of uh, meaning, right? A short phrase that expresses in a clever way something that is true. आपने कहावतें जो सुनी है, सूक्तियां जिसको कहते हैं हिंदी में, right? So he uses that style. Next is rhythmic precision, and his language is compact, logical, rhythmic, and that's what makes him a great essay. So these four things you should remember. First is his compact way of writing, right? Densely packed with meaning. Second is his analytical detachment. That means he does not uh, connect himself personally. Rather, he makes a very detached or and analytical observation with a balanced and cool mind. Third is his aphoristic style. He uses aphorism. He uses memorable aphorisms. Okay, and that's what is a kind of trademark of his essay writing. And third is his rhythmic style. His language is compact, logical, and rhythmic. So now this is how the essay form develops in this particular age. In early Tudor period, before 1558, we have Thomas More, Roger Ascham, who write that Roger Ascham, he wrote about the school education. Schoolmaster is his particular work in which he creates a treatise about school education, that how school education should be imparted, right? And he gives a rational argument, and these are full of clarity of expression. Second is a high Elizabethan, where you find Sydney and Richard Hooker, who wrote about humanist ideals and moral reflection. Then comes early Elizabethans like John Lilly. His ornamental style, which is known as Euphuism. And when you come to late Elizabethan age, there we find the great master Francis Bacon, who is known for his compact aphoristic essays. Okay, so that is how uh, Francis Bacon establishes essay as a distinct literary form in English literature. समझ आया? Okay, so that is what the contribution of this great man is, right? And we talk about legacy and influence, then Beckham's essay, they continue to influence other essayists in the future also. Like in the next age, 18th century, you will learn about Thomas Edison, Richard Steele, Dr. Johnson, Charles Lamb in the Romantic age, William Hazlitt, Thomas Macaulay in the late this modern period. So he is an influence on everyone after him. Okay. So we have some questions. I want fast answers. So, who is known as the father of English essay? Jaldi bolo. Who is known as the father of English essay? Francis Bacon. समझ गए? And euphuism is a style which is associated with किसके साथ जुड़ा हुआ है euphuism? 50 बार बोल दिया. I have repeated it 100 times. Euphuism is associated with which writer? John Lilly. Yes, the defense of poesy, which is primarily what kind of writing? Critical essay. Good. Then uh, the schoolmaster by Rose, this Asham deals with schoolmaster, जो Asham ने Roger Asham ने लिखा है, which is deals with what with which topic? Education. Very good. So I hope you got a little idea of